Okay, folks, this is Mr. Wallace, your driver education instructor, and we are in lesson number 3, signs, signals, and markings. This was a big part of your test when you were getting your permit, and this should be some pretty good review for all of you, hopefully. And, we want to extend on that knowledge, especially when putting some of these things into practice. So let's get started here. I guess before we start, we just want to review the grading rubric for your driver log here, for the parent-teen driver log. And you can see here's the score settings for us, okay? So to pass, you will need to get a 65% or higher. And we broke down the scores like this, okay? So basically, you are passing if you get a 2, a 3, or a 4. Under 2, you're not passing. That's basically a 1 is going to be worth 60%, and blank is a 0. So it is important that you review this with your folks. Make sure they know what a passing score is. This was also in the parent welcome letter to them, so they also should know, but it's good just to review. And let's take a look at the next, and that's it. Okay, so let's get started with our different signs, signals, and pavement markings here. So traffic control devices provide information about laws, hazards, and the roadway. They include pavement markings, signal lights, and traffic signs. They help to improve the safety on the road by allowing for the organized and foreseeable movement of traffic. Yeah, basically they organize us in a predictable way so that we can, apply rules and move about safely and efficiently. Recognizing traffic control devices. Why are the below characteristics of traffic control devices important? Let's talk about this for a minute. We do have ways for us to recognize traffic controls, right? We have color, and we have all types of different colors. Can you recognize what any of these colors kind of indicate? White, black, and red, or yellow and black, green and white, blue and white. And we also have shapes like triangles, squares, and vertical rectangles, right? We have diamond shapes and circles. We have horizontal rectangles. We have, and placement, right? Placement is very, very important, obviously. Okay. Traffic signals. The shape and color of traffic signs give indications of information they can provide, including traffic rules, special hazards, where you are, how to get to where you are going, and where services are available, right? So we have signs when it comes to color, for example, typically white rectangles with black lettering or symbols. Some are different shapes, can be used with red letters or symbols. And these are regulation signs, okay? They're the stop signs, the yield signs, the speed limit signs. These are the signs that if you don't follow, you're going to most likely get in a car accident. And 2, you will get a ticket if you are caught not following regulation signs. Okay. To a lesser degree of importance, but still incredibly important for good, actually great drivers, are warning signs. Okay, so warning signs are typically yellow. They're typically yellow diamonds with black letters or symbols. Okay, so here's what they look like over here. And we can get anything from a deer crossing sign to a lane added sign. For example, here's a lane added sign. Here's a merge sign, right? So merge is coming up. Usually after a merge sign, a warning sign, we'll find a yield sign, right? So typically regulation signs sometimes follow a warning sign. Okay, then we have destination signs. So these are usually green, okay, with white letters and symbols. Sometimes they also have shields for the the interstates, for example, or the state routes. For example, they They're exit signs, they're mile marker signs. They just tell where the city is and how far away it is and what routes to take to get there. Okay, and then we have service signs. So your most important service sign is going to be this one. They're blue with white lettering, and this one with the H in it is the most important. That's your hospital sign. Okay, they also have rest area signs, for example. Okay, common traffic signs and meanings. Stop signs is a regulation sign. It's by far the most important sign, right? So the color is red with white letters, meaning and where to stop. So this is important, and I'm not going to read this because I'm just going to tell you what it is. Okay, so when we come up to a stop sign, it's incredibly important where we stop our car. First of all, if we have a stop sign, you must come to a complete, full stop. Okay, and not just for your road test, but to be great drivers, we need to come to a full stop. The next question is, where do we do this? Because not every stop sign has the same pavement markings, does it? Okay, and here's how we do this. If there is a solid white stop line, then we stop before, like a foot before, so you can, kind of see it. We stop a foot before the solid white stop line. There are many, many reasons for this, but if nothing else, it's because of the law. Okay. I'll give you a reason why. Okay. I was just out yesterday taking some pictures of stuff for you guys and doing some video for you guys. And one of them was this. We had a recessed white stop line. You'll find these at intersections with stoplights too. And the reason is because we had a one-way road coming off an exit ramp of a highway. And we had trucks turning left, big trucks, gas trucks turning left, semis. And that recessed stop line was there so that they would not clip you as they were making their turn. Okay. So it's very, very important to park behind, just not to park, but to stop behind the white solid line. If there is no white solid line, where do you stop? You stop before the pavement markings for the crosswalk, okay? Like a foot before it. If there is no crosswalk markings, then here's what you do. You stop before, you're going to have to make an imaginary line across the road from the stop line, and you are going to stop before that line. Also, this must also be before if there is not a crosswalk, but if there's a sidewalk, you have to stop before that imaginary sidewalk going across the street. Okay. Now, what happens if that is so recessed that you can't see the oncoming traffic? Once you make your full stop, and so long as there are no pedestrians, you are expected to creep up with your car. That means creeping up means you're taking your foot off the brake and allowing your car to move forward just a bit and then putting your foot back on the brake. Okay. So that then you can make another full stop and see what's going on and see if there's any oncoming traffic. If there is none, then you're free to go and you can roll through. If there is, then you have to bring your car to a full stop at that point, even if you're over the crosswalk. Okay, this is expected of you. Okay. That should be everything that's written right here. Here we go. Okay, common traffic signs and meanings. So we have yield signs, regulation signs, right? So a yield sign is a regulation sign. It's going to be at a place where you are going to be merging in with other traffic. Okay, so sometimes there's a warning sign that comes before it telling you that you're going to be merging in with other traffic. This is a warning sign that's at a T in the road, and we'll talk more about T's in a minute. Usually, my rules for driver education are these. If you come to a T in the road and there is no sign, you need to bring your car to a full stop, okay? The only time when you do not bring your car to a full stop is when you have a yield sign, okay? So what are you doing when you have a yield sign? You are looking over to the left. First of all, you're looking for pedestrians. Yield signs are usually going to be, you're always going to be turning right in a yield sign, okay, unless you're merging into traffic in the opposite way. But whatever way you're merging into traffic, you're going to be looking over the opposite shoulder to where you're merging, actually the same shoulder to where you're merging, and you're looking for oncoming traffic, okay, and you kind of do your the signal mirrors. You can look in your mirrors. You're going to do your head check. You're going to look all the way down over your left-hand shoulder. So this is a real look over your left-hand shoulder. This isn't just looking in your blind spot. This is a look down your left-hand shoulder after looking in your left mirror, and you're looking for oncoming traffic. You can bring your car to 5 miles per hour. That's fine, okay? But once you see that there's a gap in the traffic for you to go to, you need to bring your car up to speed to get, so you're like going into the flow of the traffic. Okay, here we go. It's important, guys, to practice these very often. You're going to have to master the skill of merging into traffic. You're going to have yield signs regulating you, and you're going to have to get used to looking over your left shoulder while your car is moving forward, okay? And then picking your place in the traffic and accelerating into it, okay? It's a great skill. It's a very important skill, and it's something you need to practice quite a bit once you get to a level of confidence for your driving. Here we go. Common traffic signs and meanings. There are other regulation signs. There's all types of them, right? Like do not enter, don't park, don't turn left, right? Speed limit is 55 miles per hour. And they come basically in white, black, and red, okay? Yep, and these are rules, right? They're traffic rules. They must be followed. If you don't follow them, it's likely that you're going to get in a car accident, and you will get a ticket if you don't follow them. Okay, let's keep going. Common traffic signs and meanings. Okay, so we have warning signs now, and remember they're usually triangular. They're usually diamond shaped, and they're usually yellow with black writing. And they are to tell you that there is something, right? You are approaching a hazardous location. There's usually some extra attention that needs to be paid as you continue down your path of travel, okay? Common traffic signs and meanings. So we have work area signs, right? And they are typically diamond shaped, but they're orange with black writing, okay? These signs do carry some penalties if we don't follow them. If it's a person with a flag or whatever, we have to obey that person, okay? If it has a speed limit there, you have to follow that speed limit. In fact, if you don't, you're going to suffer more penalties than if it was just a regulatory sign. Okay, let's watch our video and then answer these questions. What are the 3 R's to remember when approaching a work zone? Work zones are incredibly important, guys. Name 1 or 2 things that help you recognize a work zone is approaching.
According to the Federal Highway Administration, in 2013, 67,523 crashes were estimated to have occurred in work zones nationwide. In 2014, there were 669 fatalities from crashes in work zones. This equates to 2% of all roadway fatalities nationally. On average, 85% of deaths in work zones were drivers and passengers in cars. What is a work zone? A work zone is a designated area on a street or highway in which construction and maintenance work is taking place. A work zone is easily recognizable by the use of the color orange. Orange and black warning signs with black letters or symbols alert motorists to the presence of the work zone and provide drivers with specific information and directions. Work zones are unique places of activity. The bright colors of the signs and equipment can be distracting for some drivers. For other motorists, the presence of heavy equipment, the noise, and the activity pose a distraction. The 3 R's of work zone safety are recognition, reaction, and responsibility. Recognition refers to identifying a work zone, watching for warning signs, cones, workers, and other vehicles. Warning signs and cones are there to direct you the right way and prevent collisions. Reaction refers to responding to the work zone environment. A driver should always be aware of his or her surroundings and stay alert. Expect the unexpected, and anticipate the possibility of changes in the traffic pattern and the presence of heavy equipment. When you approach a work zone, drive at the posted speed limit. The fine for speeding in a work zone can be $500. Obey signs, channelizing devices, and pavement markings. Don't change lanes or pass. Leave plenty of room between your vehicle and others around you because unexpected stops frequently occur in work zones. Also, watch for flaggers and obey their directions, and check for changes. A work zone might have changed since your last trip. Responsibility refers to taking personal liability for yourself and your actions. It is your duty to drive responsibly at all times and to take extra precautions when in a work zone area. Don't take unnecessary chances that will put you and others in jeopardy. If you have an accident in a work zone and someone is hurt or killed, certain penalties apply. In Virginia and numerous other states, if your actions cause injuries in an accident, including those in work zones, you are responsible for the person's injuries and may also face traffic charges. If you caused a crash and a death results from it, you could be charged with vehicular manslaughter. Don't forget to call the Highway Helpline to report road hazards or other problems on Virginia's roads. Call 800-367-ROAD. And remember to always stay safe around work zones. Thanks for watching!
Okay, those 2 students did an excellent job there with that video. So good of a job that I chose to put it up on our in our lecture. So there's a lot of takeaways here. Now, this was back from 2013 and 2014, but some of the numbers that we hear there, I think it was something like over 60,000 traffic accidents happened in work zones, and over 600 fatalities took place in work zones. I mean, I don't know if you've met people who have worked in work zones. They all know somebody or themselves who has been hit by a vehicle. It is that risky to be working in work zones. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Mainly, now it could also be the pedestrian, the worker's fault too, for just negligence. But it's just an incredibly risky place to be. All right. And so we need to give it just our absolutely undivided attention when we're traveling through a work zone, guys, especially the part of the work zone where you have workers. Okay. So first of all, we do need to do the 3 R's, which I'm going to see if I pop up for us. If they don't, I'm going to go right back. Let me just move this out of the way. Oh, they don't. I thought, here we go.
According to the Federal Highway Administration.
So our 3 R's are these: recognize. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is be able to recognize a work zone. What are we looking for? We're looking for orange with black, right? We might find also a person with a flag right away or a stop sign. We might find orange cones. These are all ways that we can easily recognize, or flashing yellow lights. These are ways that we can find work zones very easily. Okay. Once we do, we need to react or respond to these to the work zone environment, right? So what's our first thing we need to do? we need to bring our car down to speed. Okay, work zones are typically no more than 40, sometimes they're 55 miles per hour. Assume that it's going to be 45 miles per hour. Okay, assume that you're going to need to bring your car down to 45. And if you get, excuse me, I'm doing my glasses. If you somehow happen to come across a work zone that's 55, which will probably only be on the thruway or some expressway, then you're going 55. But, assume it's going to be 45 miles per hour. All right. Second thing is, this is not the time to be driving with only one hand because we are changing something, right? It could be anything, right? Or drinking coffee, for example. It's just not the right time, especially as you get closer and closer to the workers themselves. Where are the workers going to be? Well, at night, they're usually going to be under those really strong white lights, okay? But that does not mean we shouldn't be extra vigilant before and after we pass those especially bright lights. Okay. So our response is that we are going to be extra vigilant. We're going to avoid any type of distracted driving, right? We're not going to, this is not the time to lose your attention and focus. It's not the time for you to be looking around at something else. We do want to make sure that the traffic behind us is maintaining a space cushion and not coming up and hitting us, for sure, right? But otherwise, we are just focused on getting through that work zone. Sometimes they're very narrow spaces too, and they require so much concentration. It's a good time to stop the conversation with whoever you're talking to and to really focus. Okay. And the last one is responsibility. You have an extra responsibility. You carry an extra responsibility when you go into a work zone. The fines are stiffer if you are traveling through a work zone at a higher rate of speed than is the posted speed limit in the work zone. Okay, you're going to suffer more penalties if you get caught doing that. Secondly, if you hit somebody in the work zone, your liability, I think, even just automatically goes up. There's not going to be too much sympathy for you as a driver who hits someone who's working in the work zone, okay, in the court of law. So the responsibility is very, very high. This is why we're doing driver education, guys. So that you are aware of the penalties, the consequences if you make a mistake in these areas. Okay, and if you make a mistake and you're not paying attention, the likelihood of you destroying someone's life is much, much higher. Okay, and the penalties for you doing so, or you just driving distractedly, or speeding in a work zone, are stiffer to try to prevent people, including ourselves, from doing it in the first place. So, and just a brief note, guys, if you hit somebody, I mean, even if you don't kill them, this is something that's going to stay with you really for the rest of your life. Okay. Financially, it's going to stay with you. Probably legally, in some ways, probably going to stay with you too. These are consequences that are not worth the whatever got you there in the first place, like being distracted or just not following the speed limit, not being observant. Okay, so let's go on to number 2. Now that I kind of gave you my spiel on number 1. Name 1 or 2 things that help you recognize a work zone is approaching, right? We talked about the colors of the signs, right? So we're looking for a diamond-shaped sign, but of course the one that we see here in the picture is rectangular, but the colors definitely help us. They're orange and black, okay? Those orange and black colors really stand out for us. Oftentimes we have those yellow flashing lights. Sometimes there'll be a police car with its lights on. Quite often you'll see, cars with their brake lights on because they're all coming down to speed. These are all ways, there's usually a line of cars entering the work zone, right? These are all ways that we can recognize them way ahead of time as we're approaching them. Here we go. Yep. There's warning signs, there's cones, there's workers, there's vehicles where there normally aren't vehicles, there's flashing lights. There could be those orange or yellow barrels too. Okay, common traffic signs and meanings. Okay, service signs are blue and with white letters, right? The most important one is usually these two right here. These are hospital signs. Another one that's pretty important is your gas sign. And there's other stuff like, eat, and this is like a hotel. Okay, then we have these brown ones, which are the brown and white are recreation signs, and they tell you which type of recreations are available in certain places. Okay, so they show where the location of services are. Okay, and if you are in a situation where you need to get to the H, you can follow it. I'll give you an example, guys. I love to use the Wallace examples. So I inherited a car when I graduated college. I graduated from Florida State University. I was driving back up. We have a house on Lake George, a family house on Lake George, and up in upstate New York. And we were driving up to the lake for our summer break. And I had this old, it was probably around 16 years old, this old Cadillac that I got as a graduation present. And I was driving it up north, and I'd been warned to put new tires on the car before driving it, and I chose not to. It was a big mistake. So one tire blew out in Florida. Another tire blew out as we crossed the border from Maryland into Pennsylvania. And the spare was buried, and we're talking about a donut here, buried under all my clothes and all my stuff that I was taking back up north with me in the trunk. And the trunk itself, because it was so old, the spring or something that would hold this heavy, heavy trunk up was gone. So instead, it would be held up by a broom pole. Okay, yep, that's what I got. And so I was trying to get all the stuff out of the way to get at my spare tire, because we're going to change the tire ourselves on the side of the road. Not the smartest idea in the world. I have to admit, I would never recommend that to you. Call AAA, stay in the car, or stay way off, in the grass. But anyway, this is what we were doing because we were kind of, we weren't as smart as you guys are. And as I was rummaging through the trunk, I hit the broomstick. This incredibly heavy trunk came down on my head. It was a grazing blow, but it split my skin open, and I started bleeding everywhere. So then we were in a rush to get the tire onto the car and then go to the hospital. Fortunately, we were near an exit, and we literally, guys, just followed these H signs. Actually, probably both of these two signs. And we followed it into Carlisle, Pennsylvania on Route 81. Okay. And we just followed them. This is the days before GPS. The only way you could find the hospital was by following these signs. We followed them right to the hospital. And I got in there and I got staples on my head. While my brother went, he found a garage that was open. And we got a new tire put on the car. And literally, guys, around 2 hours later, we were back on the road and we were driving north. It was the worst drive we ever had in our lives. But we made it. Okay. So these signs do help. All right, moving along. Common traffic signs and meanings. Destination signs. So destination signs are green, right? They're rectangular. They're horizontally rectangular, maybe a little square. They often have that shield. The shield displays the type of road it is. It could be an interstate. It could be some type of county road. and tells us sometimes which direction it's going, north or east. Tells us exits and so on, but these are called destination signs. Okay, traffic lights. Well, we know traffic lights are usually red, yellow, and green, right? We know what they mean. They do indicate who has the right of way. Okay. Let's read this really quickly. According to state law, if traffic lights are out of service or not operating correctly when you approach an intersection, you should. This is the rule. Okay. This is the rules of the road. You must come to a complete stop as if it were a stop sign. Okay. You must then continue according to the rules of right of way, unless you are told to continue by some type of traffic officer. Okay. That's how it works. Okay. Right of way intersection. Who moves first if you are A? So if you are A here, who moves first? Well, let's take a look at what's coming. You have to yield the right of way to the person on your right. So this person here moves before you do. Okay. You, because this is on your left, you move before this person does. This person over here is going to be moving. He's not part of your action. Okay. Let's presume you're letter B now. Okay. You arrive. You want to go straight. Who do you need to yield to? Remember, you need to yield to the person on your right. So that's going to be letter A. You need to allow him to move before you go. Okay. And whoever came here first gets to go next, right? So if you all arrive at the same time, he's going to get to go first, and then him, and then you. Okay. Okay. And this person would, he would go while this person's going, right? That's what would happen here. All righty. If you are letter C, what do you need to do? Okay, everyone arrives at the same time. You are supposed to yield to this guy on your right, but he's going to have to yield to these two guys. And once you notice that, you're going to say, okay, and I'm going to go. This is what's going to happen. Okay, and letter D, if you all arrive at the same time in your letter D down here, okay, you need to yield to the person on your right. He's only doing this, and everyone else is on your left. You're just going to go right after that. Okay, and these two cars are going to wait for you. Okay, actually, while you continue there, he's going to start going here, and then he will go that way. That's what will happen. Okay, here we go. Traffic lights and what they indicate, right? So steady reds means stop. Do not go until light is green. If green arrow and red light are present, you can go only toward the arrow if the intersection has cleared. I should have the words has cleared. Okay. If the intersection is full of cars, you need to just wait it out. Flashing red light means you need to stop as if it's a stop sign. Okay, you stop, yield the right of way, right, to the people on your right, and go when it is safe. Okay, if you have a red arrow, it means do not go in the direction of the arrow until the red arrow light is off and the green light or green arrow is on. Steady yellow means you should be prepared to stop. The light is about to turn red. A flashing yellow means you need to drive with caution. And I'm just going to tell you another thing really quickly. And I have so far away from where I live that I can't really go out there and get a video of it, but I wish I could. I want you to imagine driving on a straight country road, okay? And you're coming up to an intersection with another straight country road, okay? And these roads are wide, they're flat, and they're straight. So there's 55 miles per hour is like the minimum speed limit on these roads out in the countryside, okay? Now, I want you to imagine this in the wintertime with large snowbanks, okay? So it's really hard to see down that opposite road, okay? And you're driving 55 miles per hour, and you see up ahead of you, around 500 yards up ahead, you see that flashing yellow light. What does that mean to you? It means you're coming up to an intersection, and it also means that the opposite direction, they're going to get a flashing red light with a red stop sign. Okay, that's what it's going to mean. So it's not just flashing yellow. It means on the other side, there's a stop sign with a flashing red light. Okay, and it also means those drivers are going as fast as you are. They're going 55 minimum. Okay, and you're coming up on this intersection pretty fast. What do? Do you just continue driving at 55 minimum, right, miles per hour, because you have that flashing yellow light? Okay. Or do you decide to be smart and cautious, bring your car down to speed a bit until you can see what's going on those other roads? Okay. And let me ask you this question. If it's at nighttime, do you do the same thing? Do you become more cautious or do you become less cautious? Here's my answer to this. I have a friend, okay? He used to teach in the Czech Republic in Prague. And I went to work on a Monday, as usual, had a group of students. Now, these were all adult students. They're the Czech National Bank. That's where I worked. And I asked them, everyone was there except for one student. It's like, where's Barbara? And they're like, like, Mr. Wallace, we're so sorry. But Barbara died over the weekend. They were crying. And she did exactly what she was supposed to do. She had that flashing yellow light. Okay. On the opposite side were stop signs with a flashing red light. She went through it as if, she had the right of way, and she did. Unfortunately, the driver who was coming the opposite way did not notice or did not care that there was a flashing red light with a stop sign, and went right through it and hit her car, and she died right there on the spot. Okay, so flashing yellow lights really do mean look down the road, see what's coming, make sure they are slowing down. If they're not slowing down, come to a full stop. Who cares, right? Manage the traffic behind you. They're not going to really get it too much. Okay, and if you want them to get it, put on your indicator and turn. That way they'll surely slow down for you. Okay. But when you see those flashing yellow lights in those types of environments, slow down. Really look down the road, the opposite road, to make sure there's nothing coming on. Here we go. Yellow arrows. Protection of green arrow will end, and if you intend to turn in the direction of the arrow, be prepared to stop. Okay. I teach my students that when lights are yellow, they need to come to a stop. Okay. Come to a stop. Unless you're like underneath the yellow light, then you have to go, obviously. But if you can see it beforehand, you should be ready to stop the car. If you see a steady green or a stale green means that it's going to turn to yellow. So we should be getting ready to kind of bring our car down to speed and stop. Okay. Steady green, go, but yield right away to other traffic and intersections as required by law. Okay. And green arrow means you can go in the direction of the arrow, but you must yield right away as required by law. Now, usually there is no right of way. You have the right of way when you have the green arrow. Let's continue. Okay. Video with flashing yellow, and we already have some answer here. Turn with caution. Let's watch the flashing yellow video, and then we are going to stop our video right here for now. Okay, here we go.
A flashing yellow left turn signal is becoming a common sight around the country, and drivers will soon start seeing them here too. Here's what you need to do when you see the signal. A steady red arrow means stop. Drivers turning left must stop. A steady green arrow means turn left, and oncoming traffic must stop.
Yeah, you have the right of way there.
A steady yellow arrow warns you the left turn signal is about to change red, and a steady red arrow means stop. The new flashing yellow arrow means turns are permitted, but you must first yield to oncoming traffic and pedestrians, then turn with caution. Remember, oncoming traffic has a green light. A flashing yellow arrow signal offers a safer, more efficient way to handle traffic turning left at busy intersections. This will be followed by a steady yellow arrow warning you that the left turn signal is about to change red. And of course, a steady red arrow means stop. New flashing yellow left turn signals are being introduced nationwide and may be used at many intersections where there is a separate left turn arrow signal. In Ohio, flashing yellow left turn arrows will become more common. Just remember, a flashing yellow means turn with caution.
Okay, and when you do have a flashing yellow, there's one thing I notice about this video, and I will bring it to your attention right now, and we will do a little bit more with this. Let me see if we can find it. We're not going to see it here, but quite often you're going to have this situation too. You're going to have another car sitting in the left turn lane right here on the other side. Guys, if you have a small car, if you're in a small sedan or coupe, and you're low to the ground, and on the other side here is a large truck of some sort, you have to be extremely cautious that there is no oncoming traffic, and it's going to be hard to see around that truck. So one of the things I recommend to new drivers is to let something that large that you can't see around clear before you start to make your move. Okay. Another thing I noticed about the video, which I liked, was that when the light was flashing yellow, okay, the drivers are sitting here, and where are they waiting? They're waiting behind that solid white stop line, right? And they're waiting to pick their space between the traffic, and they're not moving into the intersection until the space is coming up. That's great because it allows pedestrians to cross the road or something, in case the light turns red, and it keeps you kind of out of the intersection, out of trouble until until it's your turn. I like that a lot. Okay. So we saw this. What does a flashing yellow left arrow mean? It means you have to yield the right of way to oncoming traffic, right? Let them clear before you can make your turn. But you are allowed to make your turn there. It should free up a little bit more traffic for you. It's really a nice thing. Is a flashing yellow light and at an intersection different from a solid yellow light? If so, how? Yes, it is different, right? Remember, we saw this. The solid yellow light means that it's about to turn red, right? Flashing yellow light means it's like a green light, but use caution. Okay, and I don't know if that, yep. Okay, so there you go.
Flashing yellow left turn signal.
So flashing yellow means proceed if all is clear, and a solid yellow means be prepared to stop because it's going to turn red. Okay, we're going to stop right here, and we will continue in part 2 in just a bit. Oh, if I can find where I put my if I can find where I put my thing. Okay, here we go.